Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. This is the big one, guys. The one I've never seen before, at least not on this channel. Made for 1 year only in 2005, the Patek Philippe Nautilus Moonphase. This is the 3712 1A. Now, the watch was only made for 1 year as the first Moonphase Nautilus. It almost immediately gave way to the better-known 5712 because this is a 1 year model with a unique crown setup, dial, and many details that are isolated to a 12-month span of production. It is highly collectible. It wears like the 5712. We'll get to some of the changes in a moment, but it is 40 millimeters in diameter. I measure it 8.8 millimeters thick. From lug tip to lug tip, just the case in stainless steel, 44.4 millimeters, and then if you have the end link of the bracelet on each side, the total distance across the wrist is 48.2 millimeters. That's right, the first 3712 and the last 3712 launched in 2005, just before the wholesale redesign of the Nautilus model line in 2006. It wears like the 5712, which means it's flat and it's compact. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it's a great fit, and I imagine it would wear well on a wrist down to 14 centimeters circumference. It'll easily slide underneath the cuff. The bracelet on the 37 and 5712 feels like the jumbo, whether the jumbo to you means the 3700, the 5711, or the 5811. It is more elegant and graceful and fine in feel. It has more of a silky souplesse than the bigger, bulkier bracelets on the chronographs and annual calendars. So I really appreciate that. You can see that the finishing is super finely detailed. With a little bit of a polished bevel along the side, it extends the bevel from the case band down the shoulder of the links. Of course, the links are fully integrated, as Gerald Genta, the designer of the first Nautilus, intended back in 1976. What's also fascinating is that these older bracelets show more obvious signs of how they were made. So if you've ever wondered how these links that don't have screws were put together in the first place, bars were inserted through the side and then they were finished off, flattened off, and made completely seamless to appear as though they were built this way. But the bars that join them are a little bit more obvious on these older Nautilus bracelets, so you can see just very faintly the presence of those bars in the profile of the links. Now, the bracelet here is actually very similar once you get down to the clasp. This didn't change a whole lot over the lifespan of the 5711, the 3712, and the 5712. We've got these lovely removable links fixed by screws because Patek did away with these sometime around 2011, and this watch was made in 2005, so that's the right way to make a bracelet, Patek. And you can see a clamshell locking system right here with the Calatrava cross on it, and that the clasp itself, in addition to being a double fold, is nicely curved, so it matches the curve of the underside of your wrist. And one of the big differences between a 3712 and a 5712 is this. There's no push-down crown on a 5712, but a 3712, which was also rated for 60 meters water-resistant, it has a push-down crown. The 5712, though rated the same 60, is more water-resistant than the 3712. Both of them have the little push adjuster for the Moonphase, and of course we have another one for the date complication, but the push-down crown is unique to the 3712, so if you're ever in doubt which one you're dealing with, pull the crown out. If it pulls right out, 3712. Another really easy thing to note is that if you don't have this little index at 6 cropped by the date ring, then you're looking at a 3712. If that little index is cropped off by the pointer date, then you're looking at a 5712. Now we have the lateral striations that have been part of the Nautilus style design language since the beginning. We also have a couple of interesting features here. Triple complication, power reserve indicator, date, and Moonphase. We've got small seconds. We've got white gold hands as well as indices. The better that they may not tarnish, oxidize, or discolor over time. Plenty of lume. We're well into the Luminova era of Patek Philippe here. And you can see that there's a little bit of a gradient to this blue. It's definitely lighter at the center and darker at the edge. And you can see one of the reasons I've often thought the Nautilus is a more fully realized design by Genta than the Royal Oak. Look at the profile of the outer bezel. Now look at the profile of the inner bezel. Now look at the profile of the crystal and the shape of the dial. They're all the same shape. Whereas on a Royal Oak, you have this artfully sculpted rounded octagon, but then you have nothing but circles inboard. This feels more like design parallelism at its best. We have, of course, the case design here, which you can see includes monoblock. So you've got this case back along with the mid case, and then you've got the bezel and the wings, which attach and clamp down. Now, that's the way it was designed. A three-piece case arrived with the 5712 and the 5711. So that's one change that's notable because the monoblock cases are more treasured by Patek collectors. They're harder to make and thus more expensive to craft. Geneva seal, that's something that went away in mid-2009. And so you have it on this caliber 240, micro rotor automatic, 48-hour power reserve, 3 Hertz beat rate. This is before the silicone hairspring, so it is a ferrous hairspring. 22-karat micro rotor, automatic winding, adjusted in 5 positions with 29 pivot jewels. It's nicely decorated. Just to confirm what we're looking at here, just full disclosure. I want to emphasize that scratch right there is not a permanent feature of the bridge itself. Just want to confirm that. Also, handsome decoration with bevels, stripes, engine turning on the base plate, satination on the wheels. You could see the locating pegs to help locate the balance cock on the base plate. They've been polished on their top. All screw heads have been polished on their tops, chamfered on their slots and circumference. And then finally, we'll get really close here. You can see that there's satination on the rotor center, Calatrava cross on the rotor, which is 22 karat. There's a very light beveling inside the wheels, satination on the ratchet wheel, and then there's beveling within each of the recesses for the pivot jewels, a partridge eye treatment. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.